Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Hoopsville on this Thursday evening, March the 5th. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. Welcome in as we have settled down from the craziness that was the selection weekend, and we are getting back into things. Not normally, because we're obviously into the NCAA tournament at this point, but certainly plenty to talk about. And kind of back into our normal per se shows. If you got questions for us, you can always tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can email us. You can email us, hoopsville at D3sports.com, hoopsville at D3sports.com. And, you can chat with us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can chat with us on our chat rooms on Facebook where we're simulcasting the show, or Ustream. Not Ustream. Wow, that's a flashback. You can chat with us on YouTube, is what I meant to say. YouTube.com/D3Hoopsville, Facebook.com/Hoopsville. So there you go. So you see our donations in the upper corner. That was going to end earlier this week. We kept getting some traction during the week, so I didn't want to end it. And got basically a request to keep it going and add a Venmo element. Some of you have asked about Venmo. We couldn't figure out how to get it to work, so we signed up briefly for another campaign assistance kind of thing. You'll see it on the side of our show page. You can donate there and use Venmo if you so choose. That's the easiest way to do it without having me give out my Venmo. I mean, I guess I could. I don't love the idea, but certainly could. So anyway, lots of ways to contact us and donate. As you can see, we're now over $5,000. That came out of nowhere. That's our last about checkup on things. Our goal is $7,500. We're going to keep it going until we notice things have died off, just because we got a request to keep it moving. So we're keeping it moving. Men's and women's basketball tournaments get going tomorrow, Friday, the 6th of March. The first game out of the gate will be at 1 o'clock Eastern time. That'll be on the men's side, Yeshiva men's basketball. They'll be taking on WBI at Johns Hopkins. The Johns Hopkins game against Penn State Harrisburg will take place at 6 o'clock. And I was thinking about this. I couldn't understand. I mean, I understand a split gate. I absolutely get a split gate. But I couldn't figure out why basically about a 3-hour difference, right? Yeah, about 3 hours between games, why that made any sense. And then it dawned on me, they probably are letting Yeshiva get back to their site, which they would, before sundown, and then let them see the game live so they can scout it, because they can't scout it otherwise. It's just my theory. I actually haven't gotten an actual answer to that. But split session is part of it, absolutely part of it. And the other part is most likely giving Yeshiva a chance to scout the game, not having it play earlier where then they'd have to go back on the tape. Long story short, that's just my theory. So that's the first game. The second game will be at 3:30. I got to double check the schedule. Speaking of which, we should probably call that up, huh? I had it up earlier and I just kind of blanked on it. Let's see here. Here we go. That's what I wanted. There we go. So the next men's game after Yeshiva will be at 3:30. Be Susquehanna against Benedictine. That is at Wittenberg. Also, New England will take on RPI. That game at Tufts. Those are your 3:30 starts. And at 4 o'clock, we have 4 games starting. Westfield at number 1 at 21. Middlebury at Brockport. 4 o'clock will be Christopher Newport against number 12 Colby at Stevens. Lycoming will take on number 15 Elmhurst at Worcester. And TCNJ will take on Marietta at Randolph-Macon. So those are your 4 o'clock games. On the women's side, their first game will be at 4 o'clock. It'll be William Peace against number 11 Oglethorpe at Transylvania. And then they have a whole mess of 5 o'clock games to get things rolling. So we'll keep you abreast of things. Tomorrow I am going to Johns Hopkins. I think Ryan's going to join me for the Yeshiva game. I'll stay for the Hopkins game. Unfortunately, I can't be at any games on Saturday. And for those of you now asking about Whip Around, it will not happen this year. Ryan can get down for the game, but he's got to be elsewhere on Friday. So, unfortunately, not be able to work out. And actually, I don't even think he can be down here Saturday. And Gordon can't get down on Friday. It was just going to leave me one man in the studio. And to be honest with you, that just wasn't going to be a good show. So we didn't do it. We'll try and do it again next year. Maybe now that we've figured out a little bit of the fundraising side, or really the sponsorship side of things. Hold on a second. I'm just seeing a note from Ryan Scott. Hopefully next year, if we figure out some sponsorships and advertising, we can have Whip Around for sure. Ryan's saying lots of media outlets reporting Yeshiva's Hotel canceled their reservations for this weekend over fears of the coronavirus. That's interesting. I'm going to have to look into that. So you're going to have to bear with me as I literally message individuals. If that's the case, that's ridiculous, as you can imagine. I am sure they'll get this solved. I'm wondering if there's anybody else that's going nuts about the coronavirus. Listen, I'm not trying to go into this, but let's just listen. It's obviously a bug that we're not used to, and we don't have an immune system for. There's no vaccine for. Let's just be smart. Wash your hands. Just be smart. Well, I don't think there's things to overreact about right now, especially canceling reservations. That's an odd one, especially hotels that I suspect work with Johns Hopkins often. I'd be really surprised if there's some cancellations. That said, Yeshiva should be in town by now, so I'm sure things are being worked on and being solved as soon as possible. We'll keep an eye on that as soon as we can. Oh, that's an interesting story. Oh, never mind. Sorry, not related to us. Jack says, who are some of the hosts that you think are most likely to not make it to the second weekend? Well, some of these are easy. Like on the women's side, Western New England is hosting, but Tufts is really the top seed in that bracket on that side. Nothing against Western New England, but Tufts has been a number one team in the country most of the season, though Hope is now. So that would be my easiest one on the women's side. Others that jump out at me, let's see here. Ooh, good question, to be honest with you. I think Transylvania women need to be ready for this weekend. I think Randolph-Macon will give them some challenges, and then Oglethorpe's in that pod. Remember, that's another one where it's hosted by geography. Oglethorpe's really the better seed in that pod. So I wouldn't be surprised if Transylvania women don't come out of that. Wartburg has been a really good team, but you got Wheaton, Whitman, and Monmouth in there. That one's up for grabs. On the other side of the bracket, Marymount's a good team, but you got George Fox, Montclair, and Gettysburg in that grouping. I'm not sure. Listen, Marymount might very easily come out of that, but there's a very good chance they don't even get out of the first game. Trinity, Texas, you're going to have to go through Texas, Dallas, and then either Mary Hardin, Baylor, or Austin. Listen, Trinity's a good team, but easily could not come out of that. Scranton side's interesting. I think Scranton's a really good team. The question is Christopher Newport better than them if both teams win the first round game? And I think that's it on the women's side off the top of my head. On the men's side, Texas Dallas is hosting. I really like them, but Laterno's already beaten them this season. And Whitworth is certainly out to prove some things there, so that one would be one to watch. Brockport's undefeated at home this year, but Middlebury's in that grouping. So that'll be an interesting test. Of course, Coast Guard's trying to run the Cinderella slipper as long as possible. Tufts men, maybe not. Platteville men, you got St. Thomas and St. Norbert in that group with Platteville. I mean, I don't think it'd be a shocker to see Platteville not come out of the weekend. St. John's, listen, they're a good team. Rippon's proven that they're pretty decent. Whitman and Eau Claire are in that grouping. So I think there's a decent chance St. John's could not come out of that, even though I think St. John's is a darn good team. Emory, I think, should come out of theirs, but watch out on the other side with Center and Pomona-Pitzer. Wouldn't be surprised if Worcester doesn't come out of this. I think their game against Grove City is a fascinating one, but Elmhurst and Lycoming are on the other side. If Elmhurst comes out of that, I think Worcester might be in a little bit of trouble. Don't count out, the Mount Union grouping, don't count out York. In the Wittenberg grouping, you got Benedictine in there and Susquehanna, who not a lot of people know about. Marietta could easily come out of the Randolph-Macon one if the Yellow Jackets aren't ready. At Johns Hopkins, Yeshiva could easily come out of that if all things go according to chalk. I could see Yeshiva winning. I could also see Hopkins winning. Springfield and St. Joseph could come out of that easily. I think they're a darn good team, and Springfield's going to have their hands full if they can get past Canton and if St. Joe can get past Hobart. On the Stevens side, Colby sitting in there. No reason Stevens is an easy shoe-in there with Colby hiding. Even Christopher Newport there. Christopher Newport's going to be a dandy of a first-round game. Wash U is sitting in the Nebraska Wesleyan pot. I like Nebraska Wesleyan, but Wash U could easily come out of there. And in North Central, you've got the defending champs in Oshkosh if they get past Transylvania. So I'd say about half the hosts could easily lose. So fascinating, to say the least. We'll keep an eye. That's a great question, Jack. Keep an eye on the Yeshiva news. I have messaged a few people. Oh, this is interesting. Maryland has now confirmed 3 cases of coronavirus, the first patients identified in the state. So maybe that's why the hotels are reacting the way they are now. Listen, the NCAA's put a task force together. I am sure the committee is dealing with this. Yeshiva coming out of New York, maybe there's an overreaction by the hotel. This is what I'm not going to get into the coronavirus stuff. Not going to get into anything about coronavirus per se outside of we'll keep an eye on that if it's true. But Maryland apparently reporting 3 cases now of coronavirus in the state, and maybe the hotels have overreacted. We'll keep an eye on that news, see if it pans out as to being true. Again, we have a message out. We'll see if we get any reactions about it here on the show. I want to quickly message something. All right, so there you go. Let's talk about who we have on the show tonight, shall we? First and foremost, we will, here's our guest list. We will keep talking Cinderella with Coast Guard. Kevin Jaskowitz will join us, the head coach of Coast Guard. We'll talk to him about repeating 2007, not that this team has anything to do with that, but they certainly have a run. We'll talk to him. Steve Moore of Worcester will come on the show, how they're keeping his coaching legacy going for at least another weekend. Also, Brian Lane of Transylvania will join us. First time the Transylvania men's basketball team has been in the NCAA tournament in 7 years. We'll talk to Brian about that. Chris Asane from Chicago will join us from the number 18th ranked Maroons, talking about getting through the UAA, winning that conference, and now on the road at Baldwin Wallace. And we'll talk to Mike Miller, the number 19th ranked Messiah Falcons women's coach. Mike will talk to us about his squad and what he's expecting. Looking forward to his opinions on that. Interesting. I just saw a glitch possibly with our fundraising side of things. It's supposed to have a scroll bar, and I don't see it. So I'm going to have to fix that on that, and we will get that solved for anybody who wants to donate. All right, so if you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Let me double-check the email address. It's scroll on the bottom of your screen, hoopsville@d3sports.com. And, of course, at the same time, don't forget to chat with us also via YouTube if you happen to be watching. We'll also love to hear from you there. Our new donation system is to Give Butter. I just ran into it recently. It seems to be one that likes to take Venmo as a paying option, and I heard enough people want to do it via that we set it up. So there you go, folks. We're going to take a break. We'll get back to things, see what's going on with the Yeshiva. We'll keep an eye on that news, and we'll get going with our interviews because we have a lot to get in tonight, and we want to keep them moving for sure. Coming up next, we will talk to Coast Guard's men's basketball coach, Kevin Jaskowitz, about things, and then we will move on from there. If you've got questions for our guests, you're welcome to send them our way. We'll try and ask them as well. And at the end, I'll certainly give you a sense of where I think might be going on. Women's, I might make some actual picks. Men's, I'll be a little careful because I am calling the quarterfinals and semifinals, and I don't want anybody to think I've got favorites or anything. So we'll get to that a little later. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. Want to, first and foremost, before we get going, thank our partners at Sensible Sports Marketing. They're if you're your go-to source for promotional products, graphics design, printing, and web design with solutions catered to fit the D3 budget. For a quote on your next project, go to getsportsense.com or call them at 800-575-4765. I also want to thank our friends at Sport Tours International. Check them out at www.sporttours.net. If you're interested in putting a tour together with your team, whether it be to Europe, South America, Costa Rica, or somewhere else, they'll be happy to set that up. They also have tournaments to Daytona and the Vegas version. Of course, Vegas is our D3Hoops.com classic. Always looking for more participants. Give Sport Tours a call or check them out online, www.sporttours.net. And if you're a coach looking to advance your career, give Capital Elite Agency a check. You can go to their website, www.capitaleliteagency.com. With that, we'll be back with more after this.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor's Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well. But it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that. And it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Interact with us on our Facebook and YouTube simulcast. So if you're on the BlueFrame Technology stream, whether it's a OTT or our show page, don't leave that, please. But you can go to Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Interact with the show page, not an inbox. I'm not going to see the inbox until later if you're messaging us. YouTube as well, youtube.com/D3Hoopsville. But again, if you're on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville page, email us. Hoopsville at D3Sports.com. By the way, if you're on there looking to see that right-hand side with the fundraising stuff, refresh the page. I realize another ad will run. I apologize, but it helps us. But at the same time, it will allow you to see more information about fundraising and giving if you're a Venmo person. Lots of people have asked us about Venmo. Dan asks us, who do we think is the most successful teams? Who has more successful tournament? I should say teams from Wisconsin or the NESCAC. Neither would be my answer. Listen, I think the NESCAC and the WIAC might have some teams that go far, like one, but I don't think we're going to have a lot of them. I think it's with parity. I think you're going to have teams from all over the country. I think Ryan's purview or prediction for who gets to Salem or who gets out of Salem is fascinating, to be honest with you. Oh, by the way, we're going to go back to this news about Yeshiva. So apparently the report is, and I'm not positive of this right now, but according to the report, Yeshiva has lost its reservations here in the Baltimore area. Now Maryland has, and it's apparently regarding this coronavirus, or really it's whatever the term is, Corona-19, I think it is. Maryland has now reported 3 cases of coronavirus, but apparently, I want to thank Kurt for sending this along. New York has confirmed that a family of 4 and their neighbor have tested positive. And apparently one of those individuals may be a yeshiva student. And so that may be part of where this is. I have not been able to read through this article. It says his son attends Yeshiva University in Manhattan. So that may be part of it. I have reached out at least to one person. I'll keep reaching out to some others, see if we can get some information at least by the end of the show. I feel like I'm back in my old TV days. But we'll keep an eye on that story, see what's going on. Hopefully Yeshiva's not totally getting screwed up by this, but certainly fears of a virus that none of us have immunity to. There's no vaccine, etc. It's a concern. The NCAA has set up a task force. There's certainly other things that are in place. We'll keep an eye on this and see what's going on. By the way, those 3 cases in Maryland. The state is a big state. It spans a large area. I don't know specifically where they are because I haven't had a chance to look them up. Let's get back to the topic at hand, though. Coast Guard men's basketball, as I jokingly said, and I mean it, are kind of wearing the Cinderella slippers a wee bit early as they have entered the NCAA tournament thanks to being a 5 seed in the NEWMAC tournament, upsetting Springfield, upsetting WPI, and getting the championship. They've been known to do this a time or two. It's always a good topic to talk about as a result. So joining us on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline, it's the head coach of Coast Guard, Kevin Jaskowitz. And, Coach, first and foremost, as always, thanks for taking the time to join us on the show. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, David, and thanks for all you do for promoting Division III basketball. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I means a lot. Your graphic didn't pop, folks. We'll fix the graphic. You know we're talking to Coach Jaskowitz all the same. Hey, 14-13, Coach, and you guys are sitting on a 7-game winning streak. As we mentioned, you put that Cinderella slipper on just a wee bit early. Not that there's a problem with that, but this Coast Guard program's been known to do that a time or two, and it just feels like this is old hat for you guys.
Right. Yeah. And, I think what contributed to it was obviously just our back has been, up against the wall for quite some time now. We were facing elimination because not everybody gets into our tournament. Right. You have to qualify for the NEWMAC tournament. So, we were facing elimination there and, we got going and it feels good.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. When you look at what you guys have done, listen, we talked on the, I think I mentioned it on the bracket show, for the NCAA that Coast Guard had done this back in 2007. This wasn't anything new, certainly, for maybe Coast Guard. It's new for the program in the sense that these guys weren't around in 2007. How do you get them ready for a run like this and then kind of not only soak it in, but be ready for what's ahead?
Right, yeah. And, it's always a goal. That was our goal, right? To get in, to qualify, and then we kept saying, listen, we got in it to win it, right? So, and I think the fact that we had to play 3 games in 5 days, we really didn't have time to think about it. We were on to the next opponent. After we win, we're on to the next opponent. So I think that really helped us. And then getting the day, having, being able to play Sunday, but then take Monday off, come into Tuesday, really practice, and then get ready. I think in those 2 days is where we were able to kind of soak it in and then refocus, and same thing. Like, okay, we're in this, and, we fought hard to get into the national tournament, and, let's prepare and do the same thing. Let's prepare and get ready and play hard.
Talking to Coach Jaskowitz here of Coast Guard with their team 14-13, and you had a 3-game slide before this 7-game run, and really since January, it wasn't a great run until you guys got into mid-February. What is working now, or has been working to get you to this point that wasn't working just 2 months ago?
Right. Well, I think some of it is, just everybody deals particularly in January, everybody is dealing with, injuries and illnesses and things of that nature. And so I really feel like once February came, that we started to play our best basketball because we were collectively healthy. Everybody was healthy, but we also play in a great conference. There's 3 other teams in our conference that are participating in this national tournament. And so we play a great conference, and I tell our guys all the time, you can play really well and still not win in our league. And I thought we were doing that. I thought we were playing, well. We had a double overtime loss, at Springfield. We had an overtime loss at Babson. So I thought we were playing well. We just weren't rewarded. And I thought our guys did a terrific job of just really focusing on, the next game. We always say that the next game is the most important one because it's on our schedule. And I thought our guys did a great job of embodying that.
Talking to Coach Jaskowitz, and Coach, the other thing that's interesting is, Coast Guard can always give a team trouble. I guess maybe we should have known this when you guys took Springfield into double overtime, and you had a close game with them just prior to that. Double overtime loss 105-99, and just a couple weeks earlier than that, you had them 94-82, unfortunately, in a loss. You used kind of that to spur on to the win. Is that just a matchups thing that you guys were playing so well that it matched up well? Or did you learn something from the other 2 games that you were able to take advantage of?
I think it's just style of play. We both play a particular style. We both can, obviously we both can score. And so I think it's just that. And it's familiarity as well, right? You're familiar with your opponent. They're familiar with you. And again, I give our guys credit for really committing to, staying in the moment and that, this game is important. The next opponent is the most important one.
Yeah, well, the next opponent is Brockport. Interesting. We'll talk about that in a moment. I'm kind of curious, the atmosphere, though, on campus. Obviously, you guys are a tight-knit community the way you are as a Coast Guard Academy. Certainly the programs are close. What was the reaction as you guys made this run in the NUMAC and into the NCAA tournament?
Well, the immediate reaction, I think, was that they were stunned because a lot of them saw the game. They saw the halftime score of us, in the championship game. So then a lot of them were stunned. But it was a terrific reaction, and I think, for me, I think one of my favorite was, coming into my badminton class, and my whole class was kind of silent, and then they just erupted. So that was a lot of fun. But all over campus, everybody, there's a real buzz. Tonight's a big night at the academy. So tonight is what's called billet night. So all of the first class, the seniors, are getting their assignments tonight. We just had a billet night for our guys, and then they posted their assignments up on the board. And so, yeah, it's a great buzz, all around the campus. And we just have been getting terrific support.
I'm familiar with that kind of event over at Navy, where I've done some work, and I know that's a big deal. So you guys made sure it was a big deal for the guys, despite the fact they were missing it.
Right. Yeah, we did. We Facebook Lived it as well, so parents could see it. We have some parents up here. It's in the lobby. We did it in the lobby of our hotel, and then the nice thing is that they started billet night on the stream with the broadcast by announcing our seven guys and their assignments, and got a big round of applause. So it was a really, really, really cool night.
Any highlights out of billet night?
I think I'm not sure I can comment on that yet.
Okay. No, it's fine. I'm fine with that. It's okay.
That's okay. I apologize, but I think in a couple hours I can. But they want to just make sure that we have to make sure that everybody gets their assignments before we announce.
Sure, I understand that entirely. By the way, you were named Coach of the Year in the new MAC for what you guys did. What does that mean to you?
That's a terrific. First of all, humbled by it. Our league has some of the best coaches in the country. They're such good men, and they're really committed to their student athletes. So I'm very, very honored, that they would think of me, in that realm, and just. I think it's a great way to recognize all the hard work of my assistant coaches, and my players, and that's what I told the guys. My kids were congratulating me. I said it's really an honor for you and the coaching staff and all your hard work, and it's a way to recognize, the efforts of the players and the coaching staff and how hard that they've worked, for us to get to where we're at.
This team obviously comes from all over the country. I noticed you stole 4 from Navy, as they were NAPS. In case anybody's not familiar, that's the Naval Academy Prep School in Rhode Island. I noticed you pulled a few out from underneath them, and a couple of others from prep schools and the like. Even one from my neck of the woods, or a couple from my neck of the woods. Can you give us a sense of how you pull a team like this together? I know we don't talk to you enough, I guess, is my point. I always like to hear the way you guys pull the squad together, considering the challenges.
Right. I think it's the big challenge. Is again, it's a opportunity for us. We can recruit nationally, and so that's a great thing for us. And it's no different than any of the other places that I've been at. In that you just have to go and you got to go where the players are, right? So you got to find the players. Where it's different than the other places is that you have to also identify somebody who not only can play at a high level and who can compete and help you win games in the NUMAC, but that individual also has to want to serve in the military. So that's the real challenge.
Sure. You're led by Packy Wachowski, who was an all-conference selection, a senior at 17.7 points a game. He also had 4 rebounds. You have 3 seniors leading the way in Noah Baltz at 13.5, Justin Kane at 13 points a game, respectively. You also have a sophomore in Tyler Perez in double figures at 11 points a game. We'll give sophomore Garrett Drummond some credit. He's at 9.1 points a game. Certainly on paper, those are the core to it, but what's the real story behind this unit?
Well, I think it's just their balance. I think our balance, I think our depth. To give you an idea, in our run, we had 3 different players lead us in scoring, and 2 of those players were sophomores. So I think, I think that's what we pride ourselves on, is just the depth that we have, the balance, and the fact that they trust each other. They trust each other, and they really just rely on each other and to make the right play at the right time.
Talking to Coach Jaskowitz, if you don't mind, Mark Simon, before we get to the Oshkosh side of things, Mark Simon, your former broadcaster, decided to jump in on all of this.
Nice.
I know he's left you guys for another place, and I'm sorry for that. He said, what the heck did you say to the locker room at halftime down 24? Was it something out of Herb Brooks in the Olympic hockey?
It was not. It was very much X and O. So it was just very much X and O. We had to, WPI is such a good team that we and great defensively, and so we just talked about a couple of things. We had 2 things that we talked about. There was an X and O, and then we just set a bunch of goals on the board. And the goals are really simple. Whenever we find ourselves in that situation, we just want to cut it in half. So in other words, our first goal was to be down 12 with 10 minutes to go, and then 6 with 5, and then 3 with 2.5. And so we just focused on that and broke the game, broke the half up into chunks and focused on those things. And that was it. You know what I mean? And I just said to him, look, I think I just told our group, I said, look, we're better than this, and we deserve better than this. And if we do these things, then I feel like we can reach these goals, and it'll get us back in the game. So that was it. To be honest with you, our guys are a great group of guys. They're veteran guys too. They've played a lot. Even our younger players have played a lot. So, I think that, that was it.
Mark's going deep in the well for this one, if you don't mind. He says,
Yeah.
before coaching at Coast Guard, you taught high school history, including a class about how movies portray history. So if
Yeah.
they made a movie of this Coast Guard basketball team, what would they call it? I told you, he went into the well, man.
Unbelievable. Well, thanks for putting me on the spot, Mark. What would they call it? That's a terrific question. That definitely requires a little more thought, But I think here's the most important thing that I would say is we ask our kids to be resilient. That certainly was on display. We ask our kids to be, great teammates. That certainly was on display. And so I think, just that, just that they were able to do those things. And it was, stay within what they were trying to get accomplished. Great competitive spirit. That was on display. And then just embracing the preparation. So embracing that plan. They embraced that plan and just said, all right, let's do it. What do we have to lose? We've got to play our best 20 minutes now. And then let's see what happens. Right. And so they went and they were able to get it accomplished. So, somewhere in there's a title, and I would defer to Mark Simon to come up with that.
Oh, well played, sir. Well played indeed. Turn it back on the man. I like it. Before we let you go, how you're getting ready for Brockport? What do you see in them? What do you think you can take advantage of? What do you think will be a challenge?
I think it's all challenges. They're just a terrific team, and you're playing them on their home court, and they're 13-0, and they're explosive, and they can score from a bunch of different areas on the floor. And so, it's just going to be a challenge for us. We're really happy to have that challenge, but again, they just present so many challenges. They're really good defensively, and we're going to have to just really kind of manage all of the things that they can do in a game. So it'll be a real challenge for us. At this point, you're playing with house money, right? Yeah. I feel that way. But also, like I said to the guys, we came up here. We're in this tournament, and we made this long ride. We want to put out, and we always want to put out our best effort, and stay within the fundamentals of what we're trying to get accomplished. That's the most important thing for us. If we stay within our system and play and execute our system, we always feel like we have a chance to win.
Well, congratulations, to say the least, on what you guys have accomplished, no matter how Friday night turns out. Certainly impressive just to get to the tournament. And, hey, I've seen Coast Guard teams nearly get to the Final Four, so anything is possible, sir. We all know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before I let you go, we always give the final word to the guest. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
I just want to, like I said, just thank you again for all you do for Division III basketball. You really, put Division III basketball, on the map. And, I think it's great that you highlight the great players, the great coaches that are in the league. And it's certainly great, just for the sport. So I just really appreciate that and appreciate everybody tuning in. And, like I said, we're excited. We're excited about getting ready for this tournament. It's a great time of year for all the teams, and the Coast Guard and our Coast Guard fans. We'll be out there playing hard for you.
Oh, I know you will. Take care. Thanks for the time, and we'll look forward to watching you online.
All right, thanks, David.
All right, Coach Jaskowitz joining us here on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Appreciate the time. By the way, Mark Newman suggested that Perfect Storm would be the title. That's ripping off the movie. I don't know if we. By the way, Coast Guard having a role in that movie. I lived in Maine during that storm. That was insane. By the way, update to Yeshiva. They have gotten a hotel downtown. I'm not going to give the hotel name out just out of due diligence, but it's a nice hotel right in the Inner Harbor. So they've got a really nice place to relax, hopefully, for a couple of nights. The New York Post article basically quotes Elliot Steinmetz, the head coach, saying, I made it very clear to the hotel that this is discrimination. I basically said to them, do you have a checkbox on your website that says that you've been in an area with suspected coronavirus? And they said, no. I said, it just says for guests for Yeshiva University. And they said, yes. I said, I told them then that's discrimination. Remember, Yeshiva has a case on its campus. Its campus is now closed for tomorrow. But I mean, we got to watch. This is a dicey situation. So anyway, it's crazy. We'll keep an eye on it, but at least they've got a hotel. They're heading to practice. Things are good for them now. Hopefully the drama for them is over. I'll look forward to seeing them play at 1 o'clock tomorrow. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll talk to Steve Moore, head coach at Worcester. Well, his retirement plans have been put on hold. Let's just put it that way. We'll talk to him about all that. You're listening to Hoops Hope, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA and NABC Studios. More after this.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school. It's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
For the love of the game. That's what it's all about, they say. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that.
It's more about team and the schools and communities we represent.
And for the many of us blessed with the strength to compete in sport at the college level, we understand that with what we were given comes a special obligation.
Our obligation to help those who have their own special needs and whose love for the game is no less intense.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. Since August of 2011, we and others from Division III campus communities have volunteered more than 250,000 hours, time away from the classroom and practice field, reaching across the country to coach and mentor Special Olympics athletes.
And to learn that in giving, we receive so much more in return. Help us keep that dream alive.
Be part of it.
Get involved.
You can make a difference.
It's on us to stop sexual assault
in any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
to stand up.
To make our community safe for all. It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was scared and shy. It was hard to look at people's faces. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. I made friends and won lots of gold medals. But I learned more than just playing golf. Special Olympics helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. As we continue this rather interesting show tonight, we're following the Yeshiva news. If you missed it at the end of the last segment, we continue to follow that Yeshiva had its hotel rooms canceled on them in Baltimore County due to the coronavirus concerns. There is a case at Yeshiva that has just been discovered. The campus will be closed tomorrow, but the hotel unbeknownst to the team, canceled their reservations. The good news is the team has found new reservations. In my personal opinion, while they may not be in the community that is a very big Jewish hotbed here in the Baltimore area, lots of Jewish families around that hotel, they are downtown at a very nice hotel right in the Inner Harbor. If anything works out in their favor, that does. They are off to practice, according to what Coach Steinmetz is telling me, and hopefully that is the last of their drama. In the meantime, Maryland has tested positive, or 3 positive cases that they're just starting to release. So there's a little bit of overreaction, clearly, by everybody. We'll be smart. We'll keep track if anything changes, but hopefully nothing does. All right, so one of the things I've been struggling with all season was when was I going to get Steve Moore on to talk about Worcester? And there were so many great stories around Division III. I didn't want to just get Steve on just to have Steve on and talk about retirement. I wanted a reason for it. And I felt like, well, if they don't make the NCAA tournament, we'll still get him on and talk about retirement, but we'll find a good reason. Well, his team found the reason. They qualified for the tournament automatically. Who knows if they would have been an at-large bid? We don't have to worry about that. That's the good news. And the better news is it gave us the perfect reason to have Steve Moore on the show. Give me a second, as I just don't want to show you the one mistake I got. Joining us on the BlueFrame Technology Skype hotline is the head coach of the Worcester Scots for at least one more game. Coach, welcome in. It's Coach Steve Moore. Thanks for taking the time, sir.
Thank you, Dave. Good to be talking with you.
Well, I appreciate it, as you know. First and foremost, we'll get to the retirement in a little bit, but you got to be thrilled with how your team has responded late in the season to get a second win over Wittenberg, especially, and qualify for the tournament.
Well, that's right, Dave. And as you alluded to, we were probably going to be a bubble team if we had not won the conference tournament. And so it's really good to know. It was good to know that was Sunday that we were going to be playing, and it is good to be playing in March, that's for sure.
It is always good to be playing in March. You guys have been in, 18 straight tournaments now?
Yes, I think that's right.
Not that anybody's counting at home or anything. That's remarkable in its own right, the fact that you guys pulled it off. Did you have a sense, you said you might have been a bubble team. Did you have a sense coming in you might be a bubble team? Did the team kind of feel the pressure that maybe the AQ needed to be done, or maybe you guys would be staying at home?
I think all of us felt that we would be a bubble team, and you never know because, you don't know how many upsets are going to happen across the country. So I don't know that it put pressure on our guys. I think it just motivated them more to know that they really needed to get the job done.
Of course, you get your second win over Wittenberg. I was at Navy that evening. I hadn't seen the result. There was a former Wittenberg student assistant who's on the Navy women's basketball coaching staff, and he and I made connection. He realized what I do. I knew his history. He asked me, "What's the score?" I said, "I'll get it for you." And I brought the score back to him, and he looked at me with this jaw on the floor look. That game was close at halftime. What did you guys do in the second half to absolutely dominate and get such a big victory against Wittenberg?
Well, I don't know, Dave. We didn't do anything magical. We just wanted to go out and play good defense and try to keep them off the boards. In the first half, they had 16 second chance points. And then, so that was a big emphasis at the halftime that we would not let them get that many offensive rebounds in the second half. So we did cut that down.
Well, that's a big thing to do. You got 2 victories this season over Wittenberg. That's their 2 lone losses on the season. I know it's a big rivalry, but is there something about the matchup you guys have with Wittenberg that works so well for you?
I don't really think so, Dave. I just think we played well those nights, and we just had a good basketball game last Saturday night. I think that was really what it came down to.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that if it works. You guys qualify for the tournament, as we mentioned. We'll talk about your team here in right now. Again, 21-7, 12-6. Coming into this, you guys had just lost in overtime to Bill Fenland's DePaul squad, and Wittenberg had tripped you up slightly before that. And everybody else in the conference had certainly given you a run. What was different about this season? Was there any pressure, the fact it was your last season, or was it just one of those years where things weren't always clicking?
We just had a lot of close games, Dave. We won quite a few close games in the league and out of the league. Our league is tough. It's gotten better. A lot of good teams in our league, and so I think we just lost some close games to some good teams in the league.
Yeah, I certainly would agree there. It's a tough league, and you guys certainly showed that with the wins over Wittenberg and Wabash being in the mix. There was a lot of expectations from them this year as well. Again, about this squad, you come in pretty well. You got a lot of different weapons. It starts, though, with Daniel Hempe, the senior, 24 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game. He also has a steal and a half a game. He shoots 50% from the floor. That's not even best on the team. 80% from the field. We'll get to the rest of the squad, but tell me a little bit about Hempe and how instrumental he's been over his 4 years.
Well, Daniel's had a tremendous career. That goes without saying, Dave. He's been an excellent player since his freshman year, and he's just gotten better each year. He really improved his defense from his freshman year to his sophomore year. And this year he's improved in some other areas, moving without the ball, which has helped his offense, and passing has improved. So Daniels came in as a talent, and he's continued to improve because of hard work. He's had a great career, and we've been fortunate to have him play for us. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, that is saying the least. Dante Williams, your junior, is second on the team at 15 points a game. By the way, he shoots 62%. Not that he takes a ton of shots, but when he does, he hits them. Keon Scott, a junior, at 13.8, and then Trenton Tipton, a senior, at 9 points a game. Your leading rebounder, not surprisingly, is Williams at 8 rebounds a game, though everybody really crashes the board. Everybody also hands out assists because the top 3 guys are all 2.5 or better assists per game. Everybody gets into the steals action. This is very much a team-orientated unit, which I shouldn't be too surprised talking with you.
Well, that's right. Obviously, Daniels was an outstanding player for us, but we've had other guys contribute a lot. And you mentioned some other guys. Dante's had an excellent year for us. And Trenton has just come on real strong toward the end of his senior year, which you like to see. He's been playing his best basketball the last couple of weeks here.
Oh, perfectly timed, as they say. Obviously, ahead of you guys is the NCAA tournament, and you guys will get a chance to host. We played the video, by the way, of the team reacting to that news here on the show on Monday night. I sensed a couple of guys started to take the cues from Brendan Gulick that they may be the host. Did you guys have a sense that might be a possibility, or was it just as big a surprise as it seemed?
It was a big surprise to us, Dave. We thought that generally 2 teams in each region get to host, and we thought that Mount Union and Wittenberg would be the hosts, and then so we were very surprised.
You now get to take on Grove City. This is an interesting squad. Coach Lamy, I'm sure you know him well. It's got a team that is playing pretty darn good basketball for that program's history. What do you sense when you look at the matchup?
Well, Grove City does a lot of things really well. They're extremely well coached. They execute at both ends of the floor. They rebound really well. They have guys that really crash in there. We're going to have to do a good job on the boards. If they don't get the rebound secure it, they tip it out, so they get a lot of long rebounds. Their guards are aggressive and active. They run a very movement-oriented offense, which is a lot different than most teams are running now, as opposed to all the ball screens that you see. So that's a kind of different situation for us, guarding off the ball screens, cutters to the basket. So we got to be ready for that.
Have you seen anybody this season that is similar to Grove City that you can kind of reference?
Well, Denison does a lot of good movement off the ball, not in a lot of ways, not exactly like Grove City, but similar in that they get a lot of off the ball screens. So yes, that I think we talked about the way we had guarded Denison. We would have to be the same way against Grove City.
Obviously, no matter when this season ends or how it ends, you will retire. You decided to hang it up, which I'm shocked by, to say the least. You'll hand it off to your associate head coach of 20-some-odd years, which is impressive. Right now, you sit at 867 wins, 780 of them at Worcester. Of course, you started in my neck of the woods at Muhlenberg. That's number 2 in Division III. It's number 12 all-time in all divisions. And, by the way, we mentioned 18 straight. This is your 28th NCAA appearance. I know you got pictures of the family behind you, and I know that means a lot to you. How tough was the decision to come to retirement, or was it an easy one?
It was time, Dave. Last season, at the end of the year, I almost decided that would be the last one. And then Coach Klein, associate head coach, who's been named the head coach as soon as the season's over, and my family said, let's go one more year. So So we decided to do it, but then decided to announce it at that time, and so that Coach Klein would be in place, and all speculation would be ended. So, but it's the time to do it, and Worcester program is going to go on with Coach Klein in charge. He's been as much of a reason for our success as anyone over the years, first as a player and 26 years as a coach with me. So it's going to go on with much success.
When you looked at this season, was there any point in the year you went, maybe I should have hung it up last year?
No, never felt that way. Because, even when you lose a couple of games, you feel like, hey, we can get better. We're just going to keep working, and that was the goal. Just keep improving and try to play our best basketball at the end of the season. And we worked at that, and the guys believed in that, and it kind of happened.
Certainly. Obviously, the season will come to an end in some way or another. Have you thought about what it's going to be like not to be with a whistle in your mouth or a clipboard or an office with plans on what you're doing the next game?
I really have not thought much about that, Dave. Just all season long, people would ask. I just said, well, I'm thinking about the next game, the next practice. And but I have to admit now that it's if you lose, it's over. It's closer to happening. But I'll find some things to do besides spending a lot of time with the 4 grandchildren. And there will be some things out there for me to do, to be determined, but I'll find them.
I have a feeling, I was going to say, you've got either grandchildren or kids that I'm sure you would love to spend some time with, maybe even enjoy some basketball games from a different vantage point. You said it was time, but was it still tough to come to this decision to walk away?
No, I'm sure I'm going to miss some things, that's for certain, being with the guys each day, but I knew that it's time. I still have energy to coach, I think, but not as much as I used to. And just feel like it's time.
So obviously the season will come to an end. You were nominated to be in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, not a finalist. It was a stacked crowd, to say the least. But what did it mean just to have your name on a nomination list?
Oh, certainly. You feel honored, very much so, Dave. But, I guess when your career's over, you start thinking about some of those things. But right now, let's just play basketball Friday.
Do you have any fondest memories of the career so far?
No particular one. Just the fact that so many of our former players stay in touch, and I have good relationships with those guys, and that's really relationships that you form and maintain. That's even better than all the wins and the championships, and that goes for the players at Muhlenberg College, who I've stayed in touch with, and several of those guys came out for one of our games this year, and that was really neat having them here. But those guys, plus all the Worcester players, just mean so much to me, and I'm going to look forward to having great relationships with them continuing on.
Yeah, I saw that gathering of Muhlenberg guys. I thought that was pretty darn cool, to say the least. Coach, I would love to talk to you sometime once your retirement is fully invested, as it were, and we figure out what you're really doing. But in the meantime, we'll let you get back to planning for your big game coming up against Grove City, and obviously a home crowd that will probably salute you justly. And as always, we give you, the coach, the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those tuned in?
Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you to D3 Hoopsville, for everything you do. I want to thank all of our fans. I would be remiss if I did not thank all of our fans, because we have great ones. And I want to thank Kevin Smith, who does a great job and set this up for us. I wouldn't be able to talk to you tonight without him.
No, that's true, and I appreciate his help as well. Thanks for the time. Again, I will get you on sometime down the road, but I'm going to miss our chats. Thanks for an incredible career. Thanks for always keeping Worcester in the mix, make our lives easy, and we'll look forward to talking to you somewhere down the road. Enjoy retirement, but more importantly, enjoy this weekend.
Sounds good, Dave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach. Steve Moore joining us on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline via Skype. Yes, thanks to Kevin for getting that set up as well. Appreciate his time. They got, again, Grove City coming up at home. Of course, on the other side of that, I'm double-checking because I can't memorize all of these. It is either Elmhurst or Lycoming, so great little foursome there. It'll be played at Worcester. Seems appropriate on the way out. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Brian Lane from Transylvania. You'll listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA and NABC Studios. Plenty more Hoopsville ahead.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division 3. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
It starts right when you hit the court. You imagine your finest moment. The game-winning shot that gets you to the dance, a monster dunk or no-look pass, and cutting down the net. Sports lets us dream of our own success and prepare us for our finest moments on and off the court.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division 3 has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school. It's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons playing college football. I never thought about the health benefits of exercise until I actually started to talk to coaches in college. It's not only just for performance, it's for life. My coaches instilled the importance of well-being, not only building up strength, mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly is all what it is to be healthy. I decided that I want to go into personal trainer and share my knowledge that I obtained in college about physical and mental well-being.
I'm a Division 3 student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division 3.
I'm a Division 3 student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division 3.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you got questions for us, you can tweet us at D3Hoopsville and hashtag Hoopsville. You can email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. That's hoopsville at d3sports.com. You can also email us or join us on Facebook. If you're on the BlueFrame show, don't leave that. But facebook.com/Hoopsville and youtube.com/D3Hoopsville. But find other ways to communicate with us. Another update, because somebody asked us on Twitter in the middle of Steve Moore interview about Yeshiva if we had heard about it. Here's the deal. Yeshiva University men's basketball team's reservations at a hotel in the Baltimore suburbs, basically in an area where a lot of Jewish families reside, had their reservation canceled on them unbeknownst to them due to coronavirus scares. Now, there's been some cases in New York, and now most recently, just reported today, a coronavirus case that involves Yeshiva University, but not related to the team. The school will be closed tomorrow, from what I read in the newspaper report. Basically, seems like the hotel, according to Elliot Steinmetz, reported in the New York Post that his quote is that he felt they were being discriminated against. I do know from what I've heard is that the community here in Baltimore, a very large Jewish community, is beyond ticked off. I can give you these two facts of good news. They have another hotel, found rooms in downtown Baltimore. I'm not going to name the hotel, but a beautiful hotel, beautiful view of the Inner Harbor. They're in terrific location, and they are now at practice. We just tweeted out a picture of them at Goldfarb Gymnasium and the campus of Johns Hopkins. So they are proceeding their day as per normal. They've got a game again tomorrow, 1 o'clock against WPI. If there's more news than that, we will report it. Maryland does now have 3 cases of coronavirus in the state unrelated to all of this. So people are basically overreacting, to say the least. Again, we'll keep an eye on this. If there's more news, we'll share it. All right, talking men's basketball, we're a little bit behind, so I've got to keep things moving. Brian Lane of Transylvania is certainly thrilled. He's back in the NCAA tournament with his men's program 7 years after the last time they were in, and 8 years after I was at Transylvania with them in the NCAA tournament. It's been a bit of a rough go at it, as it were, but they are clicking on all cylinders at this point in time and playing well. We talked to Brian earlier today as he's a little bit tied up in Naperville, Illinois, getting ready for his first game, of course, against the defending national champs in UW-Oshkosh. So we talked to him earlier today about all of this. If the graphic drops out and the audio continues, we will fix it in due time. Bear with us. We did an update to the system, and it doesn't like our graphics, but you'll at least hear the broadcast. Brian Lane joining me earlier today. Joining us on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline, it's the head coach of Transylvania men's basketball. It is Brian Lane. And, sir, welcome back to the tournament, and thanks for taking the time to join us.
Dave, thanks. It's always an honor to be online with you, and I'll tell you what, it feels good to be back in the NCAA basketball tournament.
Oh, I'm sure. I know it's been a number of years. I know you've been frustrated, but it's and tell us a little bit what it's like to try and not rebuild the program isn't what I want to say, but at least build back to where you wanted to be.
Well, last time we were in the NCAA, we were 2013, and we made it as an at-large in 2012 and 2013. And you know how hard it is to get in as an at-large, and being able to do that those 2 years was, with a couple of really special teams, was tremendous. And then we hit a stretch coming out of that after we graduated several really, really good players, an All-American and a player that had Sperlin not been an All-American, Brandon Rash would have been an All-American because they were competing for Player of the Year honors. And every day to practice, I look up at the banner and I would see 2012 and 2013, and I knew that we could get back to the level that we had the program just because of everything in regards to the university and the location and facilities. We got everything in place with good coaching, and as soon as we were able to come out of here, we were really close last year. Got beat in the finals at Hanover by 2 points, and felt like we were right on the edge of being able to get it done. And then this year, certainly going into the season as a preseason number one in our conference, the expectations were high. But yet we got off to a slow start.
Yeah, you did. I mean, won the first 3 games, Wilmington, Ohio, Northern, Emory, and Henry. But then you guys kind of hit a rough spot, lost 2, won 2, and then lost 4 of 5, and ended up losing 5 of 7. It was a rough spot right there between early December or really end of November and mid-January. How tough is, including losing 2 to center, how tough is that kind of thing to get out of?
Well, it took a lot of soul searching, and it took a lot of guys being able to admit that we had some deficiencies that we needed to correct, and if we didn't correct them, we were going to continue down the path of just a mediocre season when we really had the potential to be, quite honestly, I thought we could be sitting here talking, the day before the NCAA tournament. But I think I've got a group of mature guys that understood when we showed them and just were very, very honest about some of the things that we needed to fix. They went all in, and once they decided to make those changes and listen and do some of the things that we needed to do, we went on a heck of a run and only lost one game since that stretch. So when you have mature guys, we have two seniors, Gabe Schmidt, who's an outstanding basketball player and was one of the higher scoring guys in the conference, and then Spencer McKinney, who really I recruited him as a 2-man, a 3-man, and he's been playing 4 and 5 for us just because of his size. But the leadership that he's shown from a vocal standpoint and getting people to do what we need to do has been really, really special, and I'm proud of the way he's stepped up.
You you talk about the soul searching. Since then, you've won 12 of 13 and really 13 of 15, including kind of revenging against Hanover, who was your last loss before this run. You have a loss to Mount St. Joseph in the middle of it, but Hanover beat you 90-80, and you beat them 70-65 at the back end of the season. And then you went into the tournament, and I'll have to admit, the HCAC tournament, it looked like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You defeat Anderson 92-84, and then Rose-Hulman, you win 49-48. Did you guys forget to play a second half of basketball?
Well, we sat there and we watched our women, who are having a tremendous year and currently ranked in the top 10 in the country. We watched them score 60 in the first half, and we roll in there about 2 hours later and score 49 total. But we didn't shoot the ball well at all. But if we hadn't have made the adjustments that we did earlier in the year, we lose that game. But defensively, holding them, under 28% from 3 and under 35% from 2 gave us a chance to win that game. And we walked out. I got an email or a text from one of my players at 1 a.m. that night after the game, said, "Coach, can you believe we just won that game?" And but being at home and being able to do some of the things that we needed to do down the stretch defensively should give us a lot of confidence going forward.
Certainly. You mentioned Schmidt, the senior, 16.6 points a game. He's also handing out 2.5 assists per game. Shoots pretty darn well, 46% from the floor, 46% from beyond the arc, and do not foul him. He will hit nearly everything he shoots from the charity line. But then it's really underclassmen after that. 2 juniors in Jefferson and Gentry, a sophomore in Larimore, a freshman in Cromwell, kind of round out the scoring. The first 3 in double digits. Larimore, a sophomore, at 10 points. Cromwell, a freshman at 6.5, and then another senior in McKinney at 6. And Jefferson's leading the way with rebounds at 6.5, almost 7 a game. So it's interesting. You've got a couple seniors there, but really it's some underclassmen who are stepping up.
We really do. Michael ended up being a finalist for Player of the Year in our conference, and just an unselfish young man. He actually this past week just was announced that he's one of 10 finalists for the Jostens Trophy, which was one that certainly, as you know, one of the most prestigious awards that can be received. But he's one of those guys that if we need him to score, he will score. And there were 6 games where he shot less than 6 shots, and we went 5-1 during that stretch. We needed him some games, like the final game of the Heartland. He goes for 16, 12, 7 assists and 8 steals. I mean, he's on the edge of a quadruple double, but he is a high academic guy, big time in the community with his community service, and I'm just proud of him having a guy like that if we wanted him to average 20 a game, he could do that easily. And but understanding that if somebody, and that's one of the reasons why our team has been successful here during the second half of the season was, if they were trying to take it away from him, and he's an explosive guy, he wasn't afraid to give it up and go all in. He scored 1,000 points in the first round, the semifinal game of the NCAA, the Heartland tournament.
Yeah.
And after the game, we're bringing him out to the half court to give him the award, and he had no clue that he was even close to 1,000 points.
Oh, wow.
Which tells you a lot about it, because those of us that have reached that 1,000-point club, there probably is not many people that don't at least have some sense of where they are. He had no clue, none.
Wow. Yeah.
And
usually guys are counting it down in their heads, or at least have some understanding that it's around the corner.
Right.
Pretty impressive not to have any idea whatsoever. You quickly talked about the Jostens. Transylvania actually with 2 Jostin finalists on both sides, which is pretty rare for one school to have both. Speaks a lot to the student athletes that you have, maybe a little bit to Justin Sweeney's PR efforts. Maybe he deserves a raise, but more about the student athletes, certainly.
Yeah, Justin Sweeney obviously is one of those. He is one of the top sports information directors in the country, and gives us a lot of stuff from a standpoint of, he's a great broadcaster. He uses words that I can't even begin to understand what they mean. But he also understands that the job is to not only to administer games and do all that, but really just promote the student athletes we have, and that the athletes that we have are special. And there's special players, student athletes all across the country, but we're lucky with Shelby and Michael both being in the NCAA tournament, both of them being so unselfish on their teams, and then being finalists for the Jostens Award was neat. Those other guys that you mentioned, Zach Larimore started for us the majority of the season, and coming in as a sixth man has scored 20 points in several games. Cromwell started. He ended up being the Heartland Freshman of the Year, and I had him starting on the JV team at the beginning of the year and not playing any games in varsity. But eventually, sometimes the coach gets smart and listens to people, and we say, okay, we got to shut him down and make sure that we never get ahead. With the 25 games, I'm really glad we were smart enough not to get him ahead, because once he got into the lineup, I think we've only lost 2 games. That's impressive. Let's talk about, before we let you go, obviously the matchup you have ahead of you. Welcome back to the NCAA tournament. Oh, by the way, you've got the defending champs in UW Oshkosh at North Central. I would say that's a pretty interesting matchup with you guys, as they bring a few challenges, I would say, on paper. They bring several challenges, and the more video I watch, the more video I don't want to watch. They're starting 6'3", 6'5", 6'5", 6'7", 6'8", which puts us in a precarious situation defensively, in a couple different areas. But when we've been in the NCAA tournament, one year we played Worcester at Worcester in the first round, and then last time Illinois Wesleyan at Illinois Wesleyan in the first round. So being able to play a neutral game in the first round, I think was a big key, hopefully for a little bit of success in that. But the defense, Fravert and Flynn are two tremendous players that played on that national championship team, and then Matt's done a tremendous job of working some of these other guys in to a lineup. I know I can't even imagine coming into a season coming off of a national championship, and having to recalibrate everything and get going. And while they started maybe a little slower there at the beginning, they were kind of like us. Once they got it figured out, there's no looking back. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It seems like very similar teams in terms of where they were at one point in the season, and then kind of the light bulb moment and things progressing from there. Brian, I could talk to you forever. You know that. I'd love to, but we got to let you go. I know you got to get ready for your games and focus on more important things, but I do appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuned in? There's a couple of things. One is, I know that you're in part of a fundraising campaign, and just the amount of effort and time that you put in and the sacrifices that your family makes is truly amazing. We need to get Venmo, because every kid in Division III needs to Venmo you something. And when you're talking about over 400 schools with 15 players, we could probably raise that pretty quickly, because I think there's not a day goes by that most colleges, most coaches don't use your all's website and all that, and what you're doing with the weekly radio show is tremendous. And that's one thing. So we need to get you Venmo.
Okay.
The second thing is we had we had one of our Heartland Conference coaches retire this past week, Carrie Prather at Franklin. It's not very often that a basketball coach will retire and become the president of the university. But after 37 years at Franklin, he did that. And I played against Coach Prather when I played for my father at Transylvania. He was on the bench at Franklin, and then when I came into the league, he really helped me understand Division III, because I had spent 10 years in Division I as an assistant, and it's an entirely different animal. And I just have always appreciated his friendship. His son, even though he played for Franklin, I would have him come down and work my basketball camp. I've got a picture that I took during that last game with Ravi, his son, on the bench, and his wife right behind the bench videoing. And I just suspected that was going to be his last game. And just a wonderful ambassador for Franklin College, and a wonderful ambassador for the state of Indiana basketball. But it doesn't happen very often that a guy stays at a school as long as he did. And just the amazing friendship that I've been able to cultivate with him is something that I will always cherish. And also, when he came to our game, we had I put the Franklin seal on the bench and put Secret Service signs on both sides of his chair, so that he would have a special place to be. But that is a long-winded thank you, Carrie Prather, for all that you've done for the National Association of Basketball Coaches and for coaches in general.
Well said, sir. Well said indeed. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck against Oshkosh, and enjoy the Chicagoland area, and I'll look forward to talking to you in the near future.
That sounds great. We don't need to wait this long between stops.
This is true. I hope we don't.
That's right.
Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Brian Lane joining us from Transylvania here on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Appreciate Coach coming on the show earlier today to do that. Appreciate his time. So he spurred us. He's now a few people that have said we need to do Venmo, and so we've done Venmo. We keep the campaign going. The only way we could do Venmo was through a company we found called Give Butter. So I put it on the Facebook stream. I'll put it on the YouTube stream shortly, and I will put it on Twitter here shortly. Keeping the campaign going. You can donate through PayPal, Venmo, whatever you want to do. We'll keep it going. A suggestion from Coach. We appreciate him doing that. Speaking of which, he talked about Justin Sweeney, the SID at Transylvania. Great guy. We've known him for a long time. Interesting enough, he's had some other greats who've gone through that gym. 8 years ago, Brendan Gulick and I met in person, though we knew each other prior to that, at Transylvania, at the NCAA tournament there. My color person the day before was a person named Stacy Corey Ledoux. She was Brockport's former sports information director. She's now the assistant commissioner in sports information at the HCAC, the conference, the Heartland Conference. So kind of appropriate that some really good talent has gone through the doors in some capacity at Transylvania. It was fun for Brennan and I to meet up on Monday to do the bracket shows. He and I will be calling the quarterfinals and semifinals for the Division III men's weekend in Fort Wayne. And anyway, small world. All right, we're a little bit behind, so I'm going to keep things moving here. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll switch gears, talk women's basketball, and we will start with the 18th-ranked Chicago Maroons. Are they maybe a little bit undersung, a little bit under the radar? Both of our women's teams may be that way, and we'll start with Chicago. Coach Carissa Sane joins us to talk about her team, what she thinks they do well, what she thinks they can do better, the usual, and what they will do at Baldwin-Wallace, while many thought they might be at home. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA and NABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor's Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
I coined my definition of success in 1934. My definition of success is peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable. It's like reputation and character. Reputation is what others perceive you to be. Character is what you are.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else, and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
Welcome back to Hoopsville as we continue on this Thursday evening. If you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville and YouTube at youtube.com/D3Hoopsville. Though if you're on our BlueFrame Technology stream or on the OTT app, please do not leave those. Those are good spots to watch the show. You can use email and other side ways of doing it. All right, so women's basketball we'll switch to now, and the Maroons of Chicago have won the UAA conference title and automatically qualified for the tournament. If you look at their season, there's a lot of things that you should, kind of raise your eyes at and take notice of. But for some reason, it feels like they're flying a little bit under the radar. They'll take on La Roche coming up this weekend at Baldwin Wallace in a game that I think many people will keep an eye on for sure. There's a lot to talk about with that one, but I think more importantly, it's one to keep an eye on because I think it's a chance for either program certainly to prove themselves, but maybe Chicago to step out from maybe or into the light, maybe is a better way of saying it. For some reason, it feels like Chicago's just flown under the radar. Joining us on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline, their head coach, Carissa Sane, joins us. Coach, first and foremost, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for thinking of us, for thinking of me, and, giving us some press here before we go into the tournament. So very flattered.
Absolutely. I say under the radar because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there just weren't as many headlines about Chicago this season, and certainly been on my radar tried a couple times to maybe think about getting you guys on the show, but I always wanted to wait a little longer. That's always my mistake. It was the conference as competitive as usual, and so we just missed it, or was there maybe a difference in the conference that just allowed things like this to slip through?
No, I think it was as competitive as usual. I think it was a great year. It was a really interesting year, as you know, the ins and outs of the conference. I think Rochester had a very good player for them who was hurt for part of the conference season and part of their whole season, which changed their dynamic. I thought, Case Western has a really interesting story with their start, and then the start of their conference season was incredible. They were just really, really good. Emory obviously has always comes in really, really hot. WashU is always a rival game for us, so that's always a huge game. But they have, they went through the middle part of the season with the conference season only losing one game. I mean, just individual stories that kept the league very interesting the whole way through.
Yeah, I certainly agree. Case Western, a great example, to say the least. Kept people kind of maybe distracted for a while. And I guess we all kind of expect WashU to have their prototypical season. This was an anything but prototypical year, ending a 30-year stretch where they make the NCAA tournament. You guys, again, winning the AQ. You've won 5 straight, but your losses have come in spits. You had 2 losses at the beginning of the year against Illinois Wesleyan and UW Platteville in games 2 and 3 of the season. You had a solo loss against the aforementioned Case Western Reserve, and then you had 2 losses against Emory and Rochester. So they kind of came in little moments. They didn't really kind of come in any bit of pattern. What do we make of that? What did you guys make of that?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I've never really been all that concerned with losing. I think you learn so much from losing. You learn so much more from losing than winning sometimes. And we were in positions twice with 2 consecutive losses that were really just brought out the best in us. And so kind of the best of times, the worst of times. So we had these kind of stumbles, and what came out of those were really, really incredible moments for this team to figure out who they are and who they want to be and go do that, and go put it out there on the court, whereas maybe it wasn't so clear to them before those losses. And so we're okay with all of that, and that's part of the story and that's part of the process. And, I really value those times. So, you'd love to win them all, and it stings when you don't, but when you come out, you wake up the next day and the sun still comes up, and then you figure some things out maybe a little bit more efficiently than having had one. So we look at them positively, and other than that, we don't really make much of it.
Yeah, fair. Some of the losses are to teams that wouldn't shock anybody in a normal week. I mean, the fact that Rochester tripped you guys up, I don't think is earth-shattering. I think it's more interesting that you lost on back-to-back games. Granted, it was the second time through in back-to-back weekends and both games on the road. Is that in the UAA one of those where you just check that off to it's a grind? You're playing the same opponent a week after you just played them, and this time we're taking the hardest road, which is the Rochester-Atlanta trip.
Yeah, that's it's always a really tough road trip, but no, I don't think we ever thought about it in a sense of where, we're just going to chalk this up to, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like we didn't play very well, and we're trying to figure out how we can play better. And so that's how we approached both of those games. The second half of the Rochester game was actually, like I said, a pretty defining moment for this group. I thought we just showed an incredible amount of fight. Didn't come up with the victory, but, kind of what we learned in that moment was a lot about ourselves. And so I thought that was really great. I don't know. I try not to think too much about kind of the other variables and keep it about the basketball.
Sure. And when you look at the box score, 3 seniors leading the way along with a freshman and a sophomore. Taylor Lake, a senior at 13, really 14 points a game. 14 points a game from Mia Farrell as well. 12.5 points a game for Miranda Burt, all 3 of them seniors. A freshman in Grace Hines at 10 points a game, and a sophomore in Claire Steffens at 8.9 points a game. But then there's a bit of a drop-off from there. The next highest score is half that total, Lucy Schmid at 4.1 points a game. What do we make about the fact that you got 5 who clearly get a lot of points, and we should point out Steffens leads the way at 8 rebounds, and then there isn't a ton of scoring, at least in the box score, after them?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I just think that we're young underneath, kind of these, the senior group that's leading the way, and they're still learning and they're still, kind of figuring out, I think there's a lot to our offense and to our defense. And so in the process of learning, you hope that they can, kind of find their moments. And I think, I think Mallory has had some of those moments. I think Alina and Katie and Lizzie and Peyton, there's just a lot of kids that are kind of having moments that if you look game to game, there are really bright spots for individuals within that. I think to look at the whole box score kind of doesn't do what they have done for us justice. You know what I mean? I really think that they have had some really big moments for us, some big plays and stuff like that. And that's kind of what fuels us and helps them to get better and stuff like that. But, the three at the top are good, and so we talk about taking good shots and bad shots, and it's tough to find shots for those three that aren't good shots for them. They know how to put the ball in the basket in a variety of different circumstances. And so, they're really good and they're really experienced at doing those things for us. So that's kind of how I see it playing out a little bit. But I do think that there's more underneath or kind of, coming off the bench for us than maybe the box score indicates.
Sure. You've got La Roche ahead of you, a program that maybe not many people would know a lot about. I wouldn't be surprised if you were kind of doing some research you hadn't done in a while either, or do you lean on your UAA mates in Case Western Reserve and Carnegie Mellon maybe a little bit to say, hey, what do you know about this squad?
Yeah, I mean, I have some Carnegie Mellon roots myself, so
Yep.
I did know, who they were and, have been familiar with them. I mean, they've been very successful in that league for a long time. Maybe even going back to just after I was done playing, which was a long time ago. So they've had a lot of success, and I know a lot of people might not recognize the name, but from a Division III perspective, when you look at teams that get AQs pretty regularly, they're certainly a team that does.
Of course, the game's at Baldwin Wallace. Was there any disappointment you guys couldn't have stayed at home at the Ratner?
Oh, what would March be without a 6-hour road trip for the Chicago Maroons? So we're just thrilled to be here and thrilled to still be playing. And, man, we really enjoy these moments. And, so that's one of the things that, our league does travel a lot. But I love traveling with these guys. And so to get another road weekend with them, yeah, we would have loved to have been at home. But it's so much fun to be on the road with them and hanging out with them that this is just as fine for me. So we're happy. We're fine.
Yeah, fourth straight tournament. Of course, this is about the most time you spend in the bus. Normally, it's more about the airlines than it is about the bus. 3 years ago, this has been the fourth tournament. In 2017, you guys were at St. Thomas, beat Wartburg, and then St. Thomas tripped you up. Interesting enough, the next year, went to St. Thomas again. Beat Wisconsin Lutheran, lost to St. Thomas. And then last year you went to Transylvania where Oglethorpe got you guys in the first round. Can you take anything from those experiences into this weekend? I know there's probably pressure to win and to get past the first weekend, but can you use any of the experience from last year or the previous three?
Yeah, I mean, the same experience that kind of has helped us to this point. These seniors this is exactly what we know in March, is to go on the road and, have a good first-round opponent, have a really good second-round opponent. This is just kind of exactly what we would expect. And so in a lot of ways, this weekend is just like every other one. And so that, to me, is a good thing. I think, a lot of people don't know this about last year, but we didn't have Lizzie Shaw, she was a freshman at the time, but she was our backup point guard, and she didn't play in our game because she got a concussion in practice that week. And that was kind of a major setback for us. That really changed our dynamic a little bit and had to move some off guards to play the point guard and stuff like that. And so I think we're just really happy to be, kind of relatively, because we're not at full strength right now, but relatively we're happy to have people, that are ready to go and excited to be here. And I do think our leadership at the top is, like I said, they're not, it would have been lovely to be at home in Chicago, but this is not anything new to them. And so in some ways, they're just as excited for this as they would be if we were at home. And so that trickles down to all, we have 11 underclassmen. And so with our seniors being so excited, it's just excited the whole team gets excited for things. And so, so it's all good,
Sure. No, I get it. Not to look ahead, but I haven't asked this enough tonight. How do you prepare not knowing what you may or may not face the next night in either host Baldwin Wallace or whomever? How do you prepare for this weekend? You're used to knowing the two opponents on a weekend.
Yeah. It's it certainly makes it a lot more fun to play some new teams and just learn some new styles of basketball and watch some new players and scout. That's one of the fun parts of the game. But really, what you hope to have in these situations is just a really, really good staff. And so I'm really lucky that way. They will have us completely ready to go regardless of who we are playing. And I have a lot of confidence in them and a lot of confidence in this group to kind of absorb things quickly and put them into play and understand the game plan, kind of rapid fire right now. But this is the fun part. There's a lot of adrenaline and, it's just survive in advance. And there's just a lot of cool things, neat things that come along with the focus you get from your players and from everyone when it's this time of year.
Sure. Well, Coach, I really appreciate the time and giving us a sense of the Maroons this season. Obviously a tremendous season to this point. I know you guys have a lot of work left to do, and you'd love to still be playing next weekend. So I appreciate the time you gave us. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Oh, just thank you for having me, and obviously, thank you for all that you do for Division III basketball. But I don't know if this audience knows that you're a huge Division III advocate for other sports as well. And so, thank you for all of that, for all you do for Division III, not just Division III basketball, but all of the D3 world. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Coach. Yeah, you guys might know my other exploits too. They're at U Chicago. I appreciate the kind words. Thanks so much. Good luck this weekend. We look forward to talking to you down the road.
Okay, thanks so much.
Absolutely, Coach. Coach joining us on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. I've gotten used to having U Chicago at the women's and men's championship weekends for soccer too. Love doing that, and I love doing women's lacrosse. I just love Division III. If I could make this a true career, folks, trust me, I would. You'd get sick of this studio, but I would in a heartbeat if we could make this a real paying job somewhere down the road, which is why the fundraiser, by the way, exists. Again, U Chicago, 20-5. They will take on La Roche in Baldwin Wallace. I'm just double checking because I can't memorize everything. Oh yeah, Baldwin Wallace has Haverford on the other side. Bobby Morgan's squad against Baldwin Wallace. That's gonna be a good one. Looking forward to that. That whole weekend should be a set of really good games. Take another break. When we come back, we will talk women's basketball with Messiah women's basketball coach Mike Miller. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school. It's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
I coined my definition of success in 1934. My definition of success is peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable. It's like reputation and character. Reputation is what others perceive you to be. Character is what you are.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. As we continue on this Thursday evening, if you've got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville and hashtag Hoopsville. You can always email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. We're simulcasting on Facebook and YouTube as well. We may have an update on the yeshiva story. Let us get us through this next segment. Then we will see if maybe we can actually talk to Elliot Steinmetz. We're working on that. We may get him in before we wrap up tonight's show. All right, staying with women's basketball, Messiah women's basketball is 23-4. They ended the campaign in the MAC Commonwealth 15-1, and they have won a whole host of games in the meantime. They've been undefeated since the beginning of the new year. Back on January 8th, Widener tripped them up at their place 75-62, and since then, Messiah has been undefeated. That was the end of a 3-game losing streak, and they are rolling ever since then. Something is certainly righted the ship. I remember talking to Mike Miller a few years ago, and he talked about wanting to peak at the right time. We had him early in the year, and he said, hey, by the end of the year, be watching for us. He was right. Once again, end of the year, we're watching him. He's number 1 in the region. They're number 19 in the country, and they're hosting the NCAA tournament. They'll take on Keystone, a fellow Pennsylvania State team. And joining us on the BlueFrame Technology is the aforementioned Mike Miller. Coach, as always, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Oh, my pleasure. Love to do it.
I don't know if my reference to an interview you and I had a couple of years ago is fair. You guys did get out to a 5-0 start and a 9-1 start before that 3-game slide. But since that 3-game slide, you have been playing tremendous basketball. You've absolutely dominated this conference for the most part. A conference that featured 3 teams in and out of the top 25 in the regional rankings, et cetera, in Albright and Widener along with you. How do you characterize what you guys have done this season?
Yeah, that's good. First of all, just feel blessed and fortunate. Life can be unexpected, and sometimes there's a good unexpected, and I think that's what's happened to us this year. Team chemistry, kids that really, really care about each other, and never just playing the next game, not feeling any pressure. And it's just a lot of those intangibles that come together. We obviously have some talent, so I don't want to discount that. But
sure.
But they just really want to play the next game and just really enjoy competing. And we've been fortunate in one of the toughest leagues we've had in a few years.
Yeah, it's interesting because on the men's side, it was very different than what I've been used to in the past. On the women's side, I felt like we were back to having a multiple head race, as it were, multiple teams who were in the chase for the top. But the middle and bottom, I struggled to grasp how competitive it was. And we should point out half the league was above 500 in terms of in-conference and regular season records, with 4 teams below 500 in both those categories. Do give me a sense of how challenging it was, because even though I'm here, I didn't quite grasp where the competitiveness really was outside of the top three.
Yeah, that's a good question. It really has improved. Verney and Hood, have more wins. They're more competitive. They've been near the bottom a little bit. But I think that's, our strength of schedule. That's one of the reasons we're hosting, and that's our league did so well outside of our league, and that's from top to bottom. So we've been really competitive that way. Stevenson is always a test. They actually beat Albright and Widener at Stevenson this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually kind of glad that we were the third one to go into Stevenson. Everybody's eyes were open. You got to play your best. Jackie does a great job for those kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those kind of situations. You just watch and this particular team this year actually did look around to see what other people are doing. A lot of times the kids just do their own thing and play the games and aren't really aware. They knew all along what other teams are doing and how they're playing each other, and so I think we just developed some really good chemistry after losing all the seniors we lost last year.
Sure.
It just took a little while to get together.
Marymount tripped you guys up earlier in the season, and I don't think anybody was shocked by that, only because I felt it was Marymount's official coming out party. They've always been good, and they've certainly been on a mission from last year. They got you 54-51. But what jumped out at me was Mass Boston, Emerson, and Widener getting you 3 in a row. Now, Mass Boston at the time seemed to be world killers. They couldn't be consistent, but they got the top teams when they needed to. Then Emerson got you in overtime. Both those games taking place in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Then you come home a week later, and Widener gets you at their place. What was going on in that 10 days, let's say, where that 3-game slide took place?
Yeah, I think for us first, and even the Marymount, we had good wins over Gettysburg and Christopher Newport to start the year. And then we went down to Marymount, and that's the first time. And losing the 5 seniors and 2 All-Americans from the previous year, our kids didn't quite understand, and I didn't really tell them either. Marymount didn't get into the NCAAs. We were there, we were their Super Bowl for a November game, December game, and they had to beat us for strength of schedule, and they just opened the game, just punched us in the mouth, and I was really happy. And I was really happy how we responded. We came up short, but we kind of pulled it together. So then we did great, and we just kind of lost our way. We're a defensive team, and we just kind of lost our edge. The younger players, especially with you go in the finals week, you have 12, 14 days off, you have 1 practice. And you go play. And the thing is, everybody's doing that, and we tend to handle these situations really well. We just lost our intensity a little bit, what it really means to compete. And UMass Boston they just outcompete us. And then we kind of did that when I think we were kind of feeling a little bit licking our wounds when we went to Widener coming out of there. But the kids' responses after that was, what do we need to do, Coach? And it's we need to pass the ball a little bit better. We need to defend a little better. So that's what they did, yeah.
By the way, I misspoke about Mass Boston. They're 20-7 this year. I was thinking about a loss they had later in the year that made me think they had more losses. But, they had knocked off Emmanuel at that point. They had knocked off you guys. They knocked off a couple of undefeateds. The only thing that jumps out at me that's kind of odd to your schedule is you played a non-Division III to start the season in Lehigh Valley. Was it just that you just needed a game? You couldn't find one?
No, it's we had it in a tournament, and I just and I just take first 3 people. I don't try to overthink it. First 3 people that want to come, they come. So I don't. Yeah, and then the other 2 teams didn't want to play them, so we played them.
I was going to say,
we're trying to be a good host. Trying to be a good host, and so it's it's pretty simple in that sense.
Mike, I have a feeling the others didn't want to play them because they were worried about their criteria. You don't worry about that?
No, don't get me wrong. At the time, I was thinking, but the bottom line is, I'm the host, and you're supposed to be hospitable, and they didn't want to play him, so I did. So, that was in some respects, my hands were tied based on how I do things. Yeah.
No, I get it.
But it all worked out. Then we ended up with one of the tops in the nation. So it is interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
I hadn't thought about that. It's just kind of interesting how it all did work out. So for us.
Let's talk about your team before we lose any time with them, because we got to talk about these players. Leah Springer, 6-foot senior, one of 2 seniors on this team, averaging nearly 20 points a game, averaging a double-double with 10.5 rebounds. Also hands out the second most assists on the team and has the second most steals on this squad, and obviously leads the team in blocks with 49. it clearly goes through her, no matter how you make things work. But give us a sense of how integral she is with this offense.
Yeah, she's everything with the offense because people have to be concerned with her. And we have two other really dynamic people as well. But she's the one that she's just hard to guard. You can't put a forward on her because she can handle the ball. If you put a guard on her, she can go down the post. So in that sense, it's just and when crunch time and everybody's pressing, we just give her the ball, and the other team doesn't have four or five guards to guard us, and she can bring it up and do different things. So yeah, she's a remarkable player. Which remarkably, she missed all of last year. Did not play or practice for 13 months, coming off a knee, and and she's really found her way. So for sure, but she's great. But her value is even greater. Like who she is as a person and off the court. Like the team just wants to play with her. She's a remarkable person. Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting is, as I said, there's two seniors, but it's really underclassmen who then kind of on the statistics sheet come next. Is
right.
Janisha Davis, a junior, at 13.5 points a game and 5 rebounds. Elena Eckley, a sophomore, at 12.5 points a game and 3.5 rebounds. And then Megan Zimmerman at 8.5 points and 6.5 rebounds. Zimmerman being a sophomore as well. So Springer is certainly leading by example, to say the least, but helping leave an incredible legacy and helping these players along who are underclassmen. Otherwise, this might be a very different season.
Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah, we've been with her coming back, and Janisha transferred in, and that's somebody we weren't planning on. And so, and that's part of the issue. Some really talented people, and they're really good with the ball, and them learning to trust other teammates and give it up. And we talk about pinging the basketball. Just get the ball moving, and things will work out. And that's what some of these talented people have done. They've just kind of given up their own situations for the betterment of the team and better shot.
Talking to Mike Miller here, head coach of Messiah women's basketball, who are 23-4 entering this tournament. You guys take on Keystone at home. Obviously, home is a big deal for you guys. It's one of the cooler environments in the Mid-Atlantic to see a game, but it's an NCAA tournament game, and I know that campus will be up. How do you first focus on the task at hand, being Keystone, and not get pulled in to the distractions? Because if there's one thing that's distracting, it's Messiah fans, because they are passionate about their sports.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. We just dinner with the team tonight, and just with coaches we're talking. The number one thing is they really, the players themselves really stay in the moment and do not look ahead. And we actually I actually last week sent out an email to all the parents to not here's all the information for the conference tournament. Do not ask your kids on Monday what time the game's going to be on Saturday. And so because they get that a lot. So it's a really hard difficult. That's great to be at home, but we talk about with the men's and women's soccer coaches at home semifinal game when everybody's asking what time the game is Saturday. It's hard to keep your focus. And this particular group though, they just love to go and be together and go compete together. And they do not look ahead at all. So in that sense, it's really been easy for me to kind of manage that with them. So.
Yeah, that's why the Super Bowl, by the way, has 2 weeks in between games for a lot of these distractions, and it's not even at home. And they tried it at a week; it didn't work very well. Keystone, what do you know of them? This is a kind of an up and coming program in the CSAC. Really good coach, I know that from talking to her earlier this season. Yeah. But what do you make of Keystone? They might be in your state, but you probably don't know a lot about them.
Yeah, we really don't, other than what we've just been working with at film, because most of their top players are freshmen, sophomores. They aren't that big, so they run a really we pride ourselves on defense. They're going to be hard to guard tomorrow night, so it's really going to be a challenge. They've taken almost 800 threes, made over 300 of them, and then they're chasing down the long rebounds. So so that's what we know about them. They're not that big, not overly deep, but the people that they put on the court to start the game can fill it up. Yeah. So we're going to need to take care of transition defense and just tweak some of our concepts, and then hopefully just make things tougher on them.
And then Eastern Connecticut and St. John Fisher on the other side.
Yeah.
Do you even dare look that far in advance?
Oh, absolutely. Not necessarily in the sense of what time do we play Saturday, but like we scout everybody completely the same, and like by yesterday at 1 o'clock, all 3 teams were scouted like we were playing them on Friday night, and then we just put it away. So in that sense, I have them in my head. We always, I got this from Mike Strong years ago. If it's Scranton, the old Scranton coach, great Scranton coach, like, how do you handle this stuff? And he said on Monday night, I just talk about one concept on the team we might play Saturday. On Tuesday night, I talk about another concept on the other team, and then we just get ready for Friday.
Sure.
So that's kind of how we do things. So in that sense, you look ahead because you don't want to like be surprised and scrambling.
Yeah.
But for the last 48 hours, it's been nothing but worrying about Keystone.
Totally makes sense. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mike, I really appreciate the time. Good luck this weekend. Obviously, enjoy it as much as they might be bugging you. Enjoy it and have fun. And as always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
No, just again, your work is, what the coach from Chicago said. Your work is wonderful. People out there just, contribute a couple extra bucks here over the next couple weeks, and let's make this happen for Dave and D3 Hoops.
Well,
thank you for your work. Yep.
Very kind of you, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. You take care of yourself, and I'll look forward to talking to you down the road.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome,
Bye.
bud. Take care. Here's Mike Miller joining us from Messiah, again, the 19th ranked Falcons. Listen, they do have a lot of experience with tournaments. Your men's and women's soccer program, some of the best in the country when it comes to soccer. They've won the most championships. Hats off to their women's program, who just did it again back in December. And other programs are certainly coming along as well. But that tremendous, absolutely tremendous what they're doing there, and congratulations to them and hosting the tournament. It'll keep things busy, that's for sure. All right, we're going to take a break. I was going to take a break, wrap up the show, but we're actually going to have an update on Yeshiva. Elliot Steinmetz is going to join us on the phone to talk about what happened today, how it's been resolved, his emotions about it, and how they're keeping it from being a distraction. If you did not tune in or did not miss it or get this news earlier, Yeshiva had their hotel rooms canceled due to a coronavirus scare, and, well, it's not gone well. They've got a hotel, they've been at practice, etc. But when we come back from break, we will talk exclusively to Elliot Steinmetz about this, about what has happened, etc., here on Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. Back with more in a bit.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school. It's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
For the love of the game. That's what it's all about, they say. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that.
It's more about team and the schools and communities we represent.
And for the many of us blessed with the strength to compete in sport at the college level, we understand that with what we were given comes a special obligation.
Our obligation to help those who have their own special needs and whose love for the game is no less intense.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. Since August of 2011, we and others from Division III campus communities have volunteered more than 250,000 hours, time away from the classroom and practice field, reaching across the country to coach and mentor Special Olympics athletes.
And to learn that in giving, we receive so much more in return. Help us keep that dream alive.
Be part of it.
Get involved.
You can make a difference.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all. It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was scared and shy. It was hard to look at people's faces. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. I made friends and won lots of gold medals. But I learned more than just playing golf. Special Olympics helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we continue to do this show a little longer than we had planned tonight. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. You can also join us on YouTube, youtube.com/D3Hoopsville. And, of course, you can email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. We'll only now get to what we've been talking about all show long. Literally got this news as we started the program. Yeshiva University men's basketball team left out of their hotels, basically. Hotel room was reservations were canceled in Baltimore County, which is just outside of Johns Hopkins, about northwest of Johns Hopkins. Their plans there were canceled, apparently due to scares of a coronavirus. We should point out there is a case involving a yeshiva student that has just developed out of New York late today. There are now also 3 cases that have developed in Baltimore, or I should say in Maryland, but they're in Montgomery County, which is outside Washington, D.C., not really in the Baltimore area. We got a chance to talk, or get a chance to get on the line, head coach for Yeshiva in Elliot Steinmetz, and he now joins us on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. And Elliot, on a day like today, I can imagine this is the last headache you needed to deal with.
Yeah, probably is, but our guys are resilient. They're finishing up stretching now from practice. We had a good film session. Hopkins has been great down here as a host and moved some things around time-wise for us. So we're working hard. We're trying to get ready, and we're looking forward to tomorrow.
Can you circle back for me, kind of start from the beginning? When did you guys get a sense that something was amiss or something was wrong with what was going on? Did you even know about what was going on your campus before all this happened?
We did. I mean, the news about the student came out a couple of days ago. I think a lot of inaccuracies were reported. The kid is not actually on campus and hasn't been in over a week. There, as far as I know and as far as we've been told, there's been no confirmed cases of coronavirus on the Yeshiva campus. Yes, there's a student who is not on campus who contracted it from a family member, but there's nothing that we know of on Yeshiva campus. Nobody is in quarantine. Nobody has been, given any positive tests or anything like that. Our players were cleared by the Department of Health to travel and to compete without any risk.
So obviously cleared, allowed to compete, allowed to travel, all those headaches kind of check marked off. When did you get a sense that something was amiss with the hotel?
About an hour away from the hotel, we got a call that they were letting us know that they were trying to decide if they were going to even let us in. I think the media in Baltimore had started to, get word of. You mentioned there were 3 cases going on somewhere in the Maryland area. I think all that stuff put together maybe gave them a little bit of a scare, and they gave us issues when we got there. They wouldn't let us check in, so we had to retrack and find somewhere else to go.
What time of the day was this, by the way?
This was right around noon. We were supposed to get to the hotel around 1:30 or so. We got a call probably around 12:30 from the hotel.
How did you go about it? I mean, what did they give for an explanation? Was it simply because you had a student somewhat associated with the yeshiva that had popped? Did they give any other reason for it, or is it just total reaction to coronavirus in general?
It was pure. It was pure. I would call it overreaction, but it was pure. It was pure reaction to what was going on and what they were seeing in the news.
How far were you able to take it up the chain, as it were, with either management on site or wherever, to try and resolve this before having to cut your losses?
No, this went to the top. I mean, this went all the way up. I mean, we were dealing with the general manager of the hotel, of course, but this went up into ownership as well. They had a meeting about it. They ultimately decided they were a no-go, and then proceeded to assist us in finding other accommodations.
And you have a quote in the New York Post basically claiming that this was discrimination. What's your thought process behind why that is the case, and your thoughts to them about it?
My thoughts to them were pretty simple. They don't have anything on their website when you sign up for to reserve a room or when you come into the hotel. And I asked them this when we got there. I said, are you asking every single person that comes in here looking for a room? Are you asking them if they have been in an area that has had any sort of coronavirus confirmed cases? Are you asking people what country they're coming in from when they make a reservation? And they said no. So my response was, so this is just a special case for Yeshiva University that we don't get to come in? They said yes. I said that to me sounds like discrimination.
So did they admit they knew about your case on the campus?
They seem to, yeah. They seem to have been following the news.
And how long did this wrangle take place before finally you guys realized you needed to go somewhere else?
I was actually not there in the beginning. I got there midway through. It was probably a good hour or so that they were going back and forth before ultimately they made a final decision that they were not going to allow us to stay there. We quickly spent the next little while trying to figure out a good spot to go, and ultimately we ended up in downtown Baltimore.
Yeah, you did. We'll talk about that in a second. Was anybody else involved besides just you guys? Did others with the NCAA, the Division III committee, Johns Hopkins, et cetera? Because this is a hotel Johns Hopkins helped set up, we should point out. That's part of the hosting, so I assume others may have been involved?
So no. So this is not actually the hotel that Hopkins set up. We actually chose to go to this hotel on our own.
Okay.
This was outside of NCAA and Hopkins, so there was there was nothing for them to do, and they've obviously been helpful and everything else, but not something that was in their wheelhouse. Gotcha.
And I assume you picked this location because you knew it was also kind of in the community that you wanted to be in.
Yeah, this was a convenient location for us, obviously, near the Jewish community. There's a kosher caterer that works closely with that hotel that was very, very convenient for us in terms of setting up for the Sabbath and everything else. So we were able to adjust it and obviously move on, but definitely was upsetting.
How's the community responded, if you know?
I've gotten a ton of text messages and emails from people I don't even know over here offering home hospitality, offering food, offering to help out. We obviously figured it out pretty quickly, but it's very touching how quickly everybody reached out.
You mentioned it. You got to worry about the Sabbath because you guys are playing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, so you can be back in your hotels by the time it's sundown because you will then stay there until sundown on Saturday should you win and go back to Hopkins to play in the second round. So there's rooms that needed not only for staying but for film study. You needed, as you pointed out, dinner and meals to be served during that entire day on Saturday. How much of that headache is still unresolved?
So it actually got resolved pretty quickly, and that's a credit, I guess, of the hotel to the Lord Baltimore where we're staying now. They gave us a nice-sized room that we were able to separate into three little rooms. We were able to put one aside to use for a synagogue when needed. We were able to use one for a dining area. We were able to use one for team meetings and film sessions.
Now, I know you guys have already had practice. Did that practice get pushed back because of all this, or was it its normal time?
No, it did. We were supposed to practice earlier in the afternoon. We ended up at 8 o'clock at night.
How at least did that go for you guys?
It went okay. I think our guys are a little tired, obviously, a long day, but they're focused. They're ready.
Hey, you and I have talked about, and I don't want to necessarily wrangle this in with the conversations we've had with the comments heard during games and the challenges you guys have had being Jewish and some of the extracurricular stuff, for lack of a better description. You and I have discussed that. before. I know this is just yet one more piece of drama sitting on top of you guys at this point. How do you shake it off? How do you not let it bother you when it comes to tomorrow's big game?
I mean, I don't think today was really, religious based in any way. I think it had a lot more to do with what's going on. It doesn't make it acceptable. It doesn't make it necessarily better. But we deal with that stuff. We're used to it. It's not okay. It's stuff that we've started to, as opposed to, so to speak, being the bigger guy and backing down and just going and playing. We've started to stand up for ourselves a little bit and speak about it and talk about it more, whether it's in the press, whether it's, to our guys, whether it's to, the people who we're dealing with. Thankfully, we have not seen a lot of that this year. It's been a real good year in that way. Taking aside, obviously, what's gone on outside of the university and in the New York area over the last bunch of months. But it's something that our guys really know how to handle already and thankfully are used to. And, we talked about it a little bit earlier when we were dealing with this situation. Adversity is kind of our thing. So we just kind of find our way.
Well, obviously you've got a big game tomorrow. It's against WPI. We should repeat, you guys have been cleared. You're fine. Nobody's tested positive for any issues or anything. You're fine to play tomorrow, and I assume nobody else is having issues with this.
As far as I know, the game is on for 1 o'clock at Hopkins tomorrow against WPI, and really good opponent, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
I know you're a split session. I expect there's probably going to be a big crowd on hand for this game. I think we kind of know they put you in Baltimore for a reason. I assume you guys are looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we're excited. There's a lot of people coming down, a lot of people coming from New York, and obviously you have a large Jewish community here that people are, I understand we're buying tickets pretty early. So we're expecting a nice crowd from our side, and it should be a lot of fun.
Anything about the team that you want to give us a heads up on for tomorrow?
There's nothing unusual. I think you'll see a lot of what you've seen all year. We don't really change a lot of what we do. I think we're unpredictable in our being predictable. So it's we're just looking forward to getting out there and playing ball after a long day today.
Oh, I'm sure of that. What about WPI? What do you expect from them?
I think they're solid. They got obviously the big kid can really play. They have a few guards. They defend extremely well. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a good challenge and a good test for us to play against an NCAA team and a national team. It's been a long season. We've been able to rack up a lot of wins and had a lot of success. But now everybody's 0-0, and it's good to go out and get tested a little bit.
Well, Elliot, I appreciate you coming on here at the last minute discussing it. I know I bugged you with some text messages amongst apparently many, many others. I appreciate the time you gave us. As I always do, no matter the situation, I give the final word to the guest. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for, as always, getting us on and giving us support. And just a big shout-out to the Baltimore community who really stepped up today and offering their support and their help. And we're excited. We're looking forward to competing tomorrow.
I'm sure you are. I look forward to seeing it myself. Take care of yourself. I hope you guys get some good rest. You got a nice place down there in the Inner Harbor. If anything worked out, you got a better place maybe.
That's for sure true.
Elliot, take care. Thanks for the time, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Dave. Thanks.
Elliot Steinmetz joining us on the BlueFrame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Again, Yeshiva men's basketball denied their hotel, which was in the Pikesville area of Baltimore County, surrounded by the Jewish community. That's one of the many places where that strong community here in Baltimore resides, and they chose it on purpose. You heard Elliot say that for a lot of reasons. Again, remember, they're playing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday because they need to be back and everything done basically in the hotel by sundown. This happened 2 years ago up at York College in Pennsylvania as well. Unfortunately, Yeshiva didn't win that game. But if they are to win, then the game on Saturday will be played at 8:30 because they will then leave the hotel after sundown. Again, no real shoot-around or anything like that. So to have the extra headache of going into a hotel, now losing that reservation you had based on a fear that maybe is a little bit of an overreaction, I'm sure you could have asked, hey, have you guys been tested and are you cleared? And we'd be fine after that. But that's not the reaction of that hotel. To have that headache, to have the catering and everything else that you've got lined up kind of torn apart because of this is unfortunate. It's great to hear that the community has rallied. I'm not shocked by that at all. I've lived in this area for a long time now. I'm not from Baltimore, but I've lived in this area a long time. To know a community rallies behind people in this area is a pretty well-known fact, and it's good to hear. It's unfortunate they couldn't find another hotel in that immediate area. There are a number of other ones, but and I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably because some of those individuals traveling to see them here. I know people traveling from all over the country to see this game tomorrow and possibly the game on Saturday. But they're downtown now. They've got a hotel. They've got some accommodations taken care of. That's the good news out of this. The unfortunate news is that they've had to deal with it, and it's unfortunate that, again, a yeshiva student did test positive, not been on campus for a while. This team has been cleared to come to this event and to play. Johns Hopkins, as Elliot said, obviously is doing a very good job of hosting them and taking care of them. It's unfortunately a headache they got to deal with and move on. So it's unfortunate. I'm glad I could get Elliot on the show. I hope that gave you some information on what's going on. I appreciate Elliot taking the time to do that. With that, let's wrap up the show. I mean, I don't know how to take a hard turn there and get back into talking Division III basketball. Obviously, the games at Hopkins are going to be great. I'm going to be there for both. Give them tomorrow, 1:00 game. It is Yeshiva versus WPI, and then Hopkins will take on Penn State Harrisburg at 6:00. I forgot to ask Elliot there. I think one of the reasons for that is to allow them to get back to the hotel to be able to watch the game and scout it live. They can't obviously be on site. It's interesting as daylight savings time kicks in at the end of this weekend. Sunset in this area is just after 6 p.m., just as an FYI. So I'm going to try and shift gears here. I know there were a few questions out there. I will try and... Sorry, just texting back some people. I'll try and get to some of the answers if I can. Hang on a quick second. Sorry, there's like 6 emails that came in, and I want to double check I get to them. There's an article apparently. Oh, David's interesting. David's in college doing a story, I believe, on Swarthmore. We'll check that out in a bit. There was something on Twitter. Hold on, folks. Just bear with me. Getting back to our conversations. Let's see. Getting into YouTube because I thought, nope, there's nothing there. I take that back. So we'll check the Twitter scope. And Jed saying, nice interview, hoping Yeshiva makes it to Atlanta before falling to Swarthmore myself. Jed, that's not a bad idea, sir. I'll give you that one. If Swarthmore and Yeshiva are in the championship game in Atlanta, that would be a doozy, wouldn't it? I love it. I actually do. Some people wanted to know upsets. I talked about hosts that may not get out of it. If you're talking straight out upsets in the opening weekend, or really opening round, let's stick with that because I talked about hosts that may not get out of the opening weekend. That's always tough. Usually the top teams are kind of positioned in a way that they should be able to absorb a tough opponent. But, I think St. Thomas, St. Norbert's going to be a fascinating game. St. Thomas is good, but I think St. John's showed that they're beatable. And St. Norbert, I think, flies a little bit under the radar. This is on the men's side of things, just FYI. Let's see. Centenary of Louisiana, watch out for them. I like Texas Dallas, but Centenary's got a lot of youth. They got nothing to lose here. They might be a fun one to watch. I think both Wits out of the Northwest are going to be, excited to be playing on the road, to be honest, because they're not going to have to worry about facing the other one on the other side of the bracket on Saturday. Whitworth's going to take on Laterno. I think that's going to could be a really good game. Wittenberg's going to take on La Roche. That's going to be a really good game. But in terms of true upsets, I don't know if I know of any right off that I can say, this one's going to go X way. I mean, we all know the NACC is capable of pulling off an upset. We all know the UMAC is capable of an upset. In other words, watch out for Concordia, Wisconsin if you're a Plantville fan. We've seen crazier things. Pomona Pitzer might have something to say. They might knock off Center. If you're not paying attention, watch out for that one. I think Grove City, I think Steve Moore talked about it earlier about how they're going to be a challenge for Worcester. I think some of these teams we don't know because of the parity are going to be able to step up tomorrow and really have some good games. I love Brian Lane. I love the Transylvania team, but they're going to have a challenge with Oshkosh, to say the least, and he talked about that. I think if you're a WPI fan, you better watch out for Yeshiva. They're a little bit more motivated now than they would have been previously. St. Joseph, Connecticut could easily come out of this weekend. Yeah, I'd be less than shocked. Springfield also, though, that second round game, if both teams can get past their opening opponents, and I realize St. Joseph's has got Hobart there and Springfield's got Canton, but if Springfield St. Joseph's is playing in the second round, that's a dandy of a game to tune into, to say the least. Otherwise, I'm not sure what if I'm Benedictine, watch out for Susquehanna. You cannot sleep on Susquehanna if I'm Benedictine. On the women's side, that's a tough one too. Again, I think the bracket was fairly put together. That I don't know how many true upsets we're going to get. I mean, the NYU Emmanuel game is outstanding. That game in Bowdoin. I forgot to check with everybody if they went and stopped by LL Bean on the way. If I'm Transylvania, watch out for Randolph-Macon women's basketball. Something tells me Kelly Williams, great article on D3Hoops.com about Kelly Williams and that Randolph-Macon team. If I'm Transylvania, I'm worried about Kelly Williams and that Yellow Jackets unit. But, of course, the other side of that bracket is Oglethorpe taking on William Peace. Oglethorpe's probably got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Forgot that they got sent to Transylvania last year as well. If I'm Wheaton, Whitman's is not a team I should take lightly in any way, shape, or form. George Fox Montclair versus and Marymount Gettysburg down at Marymount. I wish I could get to that. That's going to be tremendous basketball down there at Marymount. Really wish I could get there. It's unfortunate the Texas pod. I mentioned this earlier, though. I could easily see a Mary Hardin Baylor coming out of that. I could easily see a Texas Dallas coming out of that weekend. Nothing against Trinity, but it's so good, the basketball in Texas right now. So good. The fact that Scranton Christopher Newport may face off in the second round is a doozy of a game. If I'm Baldwin Wallace, watch out for Haverford. Bobby Morgan's team is not afraid of anybody. And if I'm Baldwin Wallace, that defense of Haverford is something to be worried about. So those are kind of some teams I'm looking at. It'll be a good weekend of basketball. And then the fact that the men's games are spread out is outstanding. By the way, we've gotten some questions about donations. And again, if you're watching the show, on the show page, we have a new fundraising campaign because everyone was interested in the Venmo. And I'm pretty sure you just click there. I'm literally testing it as we speak. I'm just literally putting something in to see what I do next. Man, that's interesting. It's not really going where I want them to go. I hope that doesn't act up. It's asking for a visual. I don't really want a visual, but we'll add one. We'll see what it does next. It's not letting us. So I'm going to have to go into the system maybe. If I didn't realize maybe there was a problem with that system. And we will try and get it to work a little bit better. I'm a little surprised. It's not supposed to be that complicated. But, of course, it's that complicated, right? Is that what they say? So we'll fix that. We'll hit save and go back to this and hit refresh and see what it takes. That's not working either. So we'll update that. We'll get it out. We did tweet out links, by the way. We'll share that information as well. If it doesn't work, we'll figure it out another way. I think that's going to wrap it up. I don't think there's any other questions. I am double-checking quickly. D3 Playbook. Yep, I'm already aware of that. Baltimore County Sun now reporting that story. We are way ahead of that, as they say. Double-checking any other comments that might be in our systems. I do not see any, though our Facebook stream seems to have slowed down, but I think we're good to go. Looks like everybody's gotten their answers, and so I appreciate everybody tuning in and being a part of the show. Looks like we'll just, at this point, wrap it up. So just a reminder, we'll be back on the air Sunday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, with reactions to the opening weekend. We'll probably get a bunch of interviews and such from the field, as it were, from teams. We'll also fill in the holes with other teams. I'll be at games on Friday. Will not be games on Saturday, but we'll be monitoring things. Of course, stay with D3Hoops.com for everything else that you may need. And that should do it for us, folks. I appreciate you all tuning in to what was a crazy show. I want to thank all of our guests who appeared on the show. Of course, Kevin Jaskowitz at Coast Guard. I want to thank Jason and his assistant for helping with that interview. Steve Moore at Worcester. I want to thank Kevin for that assistance. Brian Lane at Transylvania. Thank you to Justin, especially for that. Carissa Sane, the Chicago women's head coach. I want to thank Nathan there at Chicago for that help. And Mike Miller from Messiah. I want to thank Matthew for his help in getting us that all taken care of. And I want to thank Elliot Steinmetz right there at the end for coming on the show and talking about what they've been dealing with at Yeshiva here in the Baltimore area. If you're not sure, by the way, we're in the Baltimore area. That will do it. You've been listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. We do want to thank our partners at Sensible Sports Marketing. If you're looking to promote our promotional products and apparel, Sensible Sports Marketing has the largest selection in college athletics. If you can dream it, they can do it. From game day giveaways to premium door gifts and more. Check them out online at getsportsense.com. That's getsportsense.com. Their phone number is 800-575-4765. Also thank our partners at Sport Tours International. Play the world, they say. Check them out online at www.sporttours.net. Sporttours.net is their website. And you can either book a European trip with your team, a South American trip with your team, even a Costa Rican trip with your team. You can also get a tournament. They got the Daytona Shootout, and they got the D3Hoops.com Classic. Yep, the D3Hoops.com Classics with our friends at Sport Tours in Las Vegas. So you got a couple choices there if you're looking for games that will challenge you, we promise you. And, of course, I also want to thank Capital Elite Agency. Prepare to advance, they say. If you're a Division III coach or any coach out there looking to advance your career in head coaching or whatever, check them out online at www.capitaleliteagency.com. You can also check them out on Twitter at Cap Elite Agency. That's at Cap Elite Agency. I want to thank all of you who've donated. We will double check the link and why that's not working today, and at least get you more information. Though we've tweeted it out today, and we've also Facebooked it. We'll YouTubed it. We'll plaster that in the next couple of days. We got encouraged to keep the fundraiser going, so we are. Apparently, a lot of you want to use Venmo. We found an avenue so you can use Venmo. That's why we're doing it, and we'll get you more information down the road. Thanks for listening to Hoopsville and watching the show. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back on Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern. You've been watching Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from our partners at the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, and especially our friends at BlueFrame Technology. You can watch this show on their Team One Sports app. That's Team #1 Sports app. You can check that out online on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Android devices. You can also find our shows and on-demand of the entire season at team1sports.com/Hoopsville. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We will see you back here Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern. Good night, everybody.